Envas Technologies creates a suite of solutions that makes it easier to run your trucking business. For drivers and carriers, our solutions put control back in your hands with a TMS, capacity and storage marketplace, and rate management system. Optimize your operations with less administrative headaches and increase the value of your time spent on and off the clock. Envas Technologies, driving progress, delivering innovation. For more information, visit envasetechnologies.com. That's ENVASE technologies.com.
Hey, supply chainers, wherever you are in the world, this is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, the Blended podcast, and the founder of the Blended Pledge as well. And I'm excited to be here with you today. We've got Christine Barnhart with me as my guest, and we're going to be talking all sorts of really cool things from ESG to digitalization to even labor shortages. What? But before we do that, let's get to our show sponsors. So are you ready to find your tribe? If you're struggling to find a supply chain community of like-minded professionals where you can level up, network, learn about best practices from experts in supply chain, professional development, and marketing, look no further. We created the Secret Society of Supply Chain to provide a safe space, a community for everyone in supply chain. We offer unique opportunities for everyone to connect and grow in our three distinct value-packed communities: the Supply Chainers, Women in Supply Chain, and the Creative Room. From the learn at your own pace, content-rich approach of the Supply Chainers to the empowering community-focused space of Women in Supply Chain and the marketing mastermind of the Creative Room, we mean it when we say there's truly a place for everyone. So head over to letstalksupplychain.com and sign up for the group that's right for you. All right, let's talk about what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we have a brand new episode with Win Global. Now, this is episode 388, wherever you check out the show. And this one is talking about drone ship technology. Don't know what that is? Well, go and listen to this episode, because sooner rather than later, we are going to be seeing 20-foot containers flying in the air, going from the Far East to North America. And this technology is coming, and Igor is at the front of this. So go and check it out. If you think it's far-fetched, it's really not, because they are very close to launching this in the market. So go check that out. What else have we got going on? We've got Log Tech Live this Friday with Eric Johnson, and he's talking about the challenges in supply chain freight visibility. Now, even if you cannot attend live, go and click the attend button, because I will send you the recording after the show. You're not going to want to miss it. I mean, who doesn't want to talk about supply chain freight visibility? And next, Christine, who is our guest today, she was recently on our Woman in Supply Chain series. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but we have a Woman in Supply Chain series. We feature a woman on the podcast, on the blog. We talk about their journey, what they're doing in supply chain. And Christine was on, I believe, in December. So go and check out that episode to learn a little bit more about Christine, because you're going to be seeing her a lot, especially with the announcement coming up. And I wrote a post the other day about women in supply chain. This has been coming up a lot. People are fired up. They want to see more women featured in the industry. They want to learn about their journeys, their advice, because I'm really fired up. I love to see the support, but I also want to keep it real and showcase what it's like to actually put this type of blog and podcast together, and the kind of support that we need to keep this work going. And we need the community behind us to be able to do that. So go check that out as well. And last but not least, we have 2 remaining spots for the Creative Room. So you heard me mention this earlier. It's a marketing mastermind for marketing professionals in supply chain. We've got 2 spots left, and we are going to be kicking it off next month. So you definitely want to go and get your seat right now. All right. So without further ado, let's bring up my guest for today. Good morning, Christine. How are you?
I'm good, Sarah. How are you?
Good, good, good. I'm so excited to have you on the show. We've got lots to talk about. We've got something to launch and so many things. So, if anybody did not hear your episode, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
I'm Christine Barnhart. I'm the Chief Marketing and Industry Officer for a supply chain innovator called Nulogy. We are that little company that's really focusing on supplier collaboration between very, very large manufacturers, a lot of big brands, and their external supply chain, their external manufacturers. So their suppliers, their co-packers, their contract manufacturers. I think that extended supply chain is often overlooked,
Yes.
and it to the detriment often
Mhm.
of both the companies that they serve and the customers that they serve. So something like 30% of manufacturing is currently being outsourced. And so I think, for us, we really feel like you have to bring those suppliers closer, and that's really what we're working on.
Awesome. I love that. And it's a Canadian company.
It is. It's the first time in my almost 30 years that I've worked for a non kind of US headquartered company. Very, very different, Sarah.
Mhm.
And like a lot of people that are as spunky as you, it definitely brings the energy up in the room.
So, Canadians are now known for their energy, not just
Oh
their
no, they're being
niceness.
nice. Oh no, they're
Yes.
nice. They're nice, and they have a lot of energy.
I love that. I remember when we were at the Woman in Supply Chain Forum and you were up on stage and you were talking about working for a Canadian company and you were talking about mat leave and how we
Yeah,
get, I don't know, 12 to 18 months or everything. And the gasping that went on in the room because it was mostly women from the US. And they
yeah.
were like, "What? What is happening? How is this happening?" And that was definitely a mic drop moment.
It really was. I mean,
Mhm.
when I started with the company, 2 people that are in my group, were on maternity leave. I didn't meet them for, like, 6, 8 months. But, we hold their job for them, they came back in, they kinda hit the ground running, we caught them up. I really wish that the US would kinda get on board with supporting mothers, fathers, young families in a much more humane and holistic way. I
Yeah.
can remember, with my own, I think I took 3 months off, only like 5 or 6 weeks of which was paid. And it's just not enough, right?
Mhm.
You're not yourself yet. You haven't fully recovered, and
Right.
so now you're not giving your best at work or at home. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to be clear, you live in the US and you work remotely for the Canadian company, just so
Yeah.
nobody gets confused about any of this. All right.
Yes.
Let's get to the poll of the week. So we ask you all a question every single Wednesday morning, and then we go through the results on Thoughts and Coffee. Now, the question that we asked, have you ever felt hesitant to take a mental health day off work? Now, this kind of goes with what we're talking about, right? If you're not ready after having a baby to go back to work and you can't give your full self, right? This is kind of the same thing. If you can't give your full self, is it okay? And how do you feel about asking for a mental health day off work? Now, 50% of you said yes, always. So, what that means, and that's with 364 votes. I mean, 50% of us, if we feel hesitant to take a mental health day off work, that's not good. That means that we're not doing a good enough job from an employee standpoint and to really create that safe space to be able to put our hands up and say, listen, man, I need this. 22% of you said day off, what, when? 19% of you said no, we need that. 8% said no, but I feel bad. See that guilt? Look at that guilt with that 8%. What do you think about this, Christine?
I think it would be really interesting to see the generational dynamics that are
Okay,
driving it.
fair.
And I think that a large part of your audience is in the United States.
Yes.
I mean, as I've traveled around the world and been other places, they don't, they definitely have more boundaries between work and home, and work is not their identity, and work doesn't drive everything they do. I think, unfortunately, in the US, for many, many years, work is who we are, and we don't like to say no. It feels guilty. I mean, and I've been, like, for me now, I'm in a really great place. I work for a great company. I feel safe. I feel like I can be my authentic self. And if I'm having that day, I'm like, okay, now but just recently I had major knee surgery,
Mhm.
and I really thought I was going to come back to work after 3 days, and this, I mean, I had a total knee replacement, and then I felt guilty because it just wasn't working for me, and so I talked to HR, I talked to our founders, and they're all like, take all the time you need. Like, they were lovely, but it was just my brain, like the habit in
Mhm.
my brain was that I had to get back as soon as was humanly possible.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't, it was a weakness, right? And
Mhm.
I wasn't doing my fair share. And so I just think psychologically, there's a lot of baggage there for a lot
There
of people.
is. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And thanks for sharing your story because I think it's going to help a lot of people, right? When we think about approaching and asking for it, and sometimes we don't even really shouldn't have to explain it. It should just be a safe space for everybody. All right. So talk to us about, give us a bit of a market update. What's happening in your world of supply chain that we need to know about? What are your customers asking about? What should people really be focusing on right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think, everybody's being really cautious.
They
So I
are.
don't think the word recession is as hot as what it was 6 months ago. A lot of people really talking about more softening.
Mhm.
Just things are a little weaker. They're not as strong as we would want them to be. And so I think, a lot of people being very, very conservative with their spending, with their investments and things of that nature, but they haven't stopped. So it's not like 2008, 2009, where we just, it was kind of a hard stop. And
Right.
that's kind of one of the big things. I think we are starting to see a lot of traction, especially with very large multinational brands doing experimentation, doing pilots, really now starting to make some investments in multi-enterprise collaboration, which I think is amazing. It's been around for a while. It's taken a long time to educate the market, but we're really starting to see some traction there, which is good. It's good for them as a business because it helps them obviously, improve their relationship with their suppliers and drive, better metrics. It's good for their suppliers because then their suppliers have better visibility into what those customers really need and helps minimize that bullwhip effect. But it's really good for consumers as well because
Right.
then it's a more agile supply chain. It's more flexible. You can take time out of the supply chain, which is a huge deal. Our supply chains have gotten just so long, and that means it can be, I can order something at 6 months before it's actually made. I may not notice it as a consumer because there's, 100 days of inventory, sitting somewhere, but that all costs us money, cost us, environmental impact. I'm excited. I think we're at a really exciting inflection point in supply chain right now.
Yeah, I think so too. And everybody is going to hear more from you because I want to let everybody know that as of February 21st, we are launching a live show with Nulogy, and you're going to be the host. So tell everybody what they can expect. What's the title? What is it all going to be about? And why should they tune in?
Yeah. So, I'm the American at Nulogy. And so I think the title, as I'm the host, really fits the podcast. So it's Supply Chain Unfiltered, and I am often that unfiltered individual in the room. I'm very pragmatic, really direct. I ask a ton of questions. I want to understand. So I'm super excited. I mean, I think we have a really exciting lineup of guests that we're going to work with. I'm not going to tell you who the first one is yet today. We'll save that for the marketing. But, just, and I think every session will be a little bit different. We'll discuss, where the market is, what's happening, maybe some cultural issues as they impact supply chain. I have such a just, I don't know, ADHD background. Like I've been kind of all over, right? Like I've worked in manufacturing, I've been an engineer, I've been in supply chain. So, hopefully bringing all of that together and like asking the questions that people don't want to ask, and giving people answers that are like direct. It may not be what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear, right?
I can't wait. I mean, when we came up with that title, or you came up with the title, Supply Chain Unfiltered, I was like, that is so Christine. And like that explains everything to me and why I want to tune in.
Yeah, maybe I should do a poll the first week and like ask people how appropriate is Supply Chain Unfiltered for Christine Barnhart as the host, and we'll like the people that know me, it'll like 100%. I know what they'll pick. So
So stay tuned. February 21st. It's going to be in the morning, and we're going to start putting it out there fairly soon so that you can click the attend button, attend the first show, see what it's all about. And even if you can't attend live, you always click the attend button because we always send you the recording. All right, let's get into our first article. So this article I came across, I think about a week or so ago, and it really piqued my interest because now we are squabbling over the word ESG, or the acronym ESG. And companies don't like this ESG word or acronym because it's a political flashpoint. And so they're changing everybody's title who has ESG in the title, which really doesn't, I don't know. I don't get it. I mean, if everybody's used to an acronym and a word, why are we flipping the script and changing it? One of the ways that they're changing it is they're changing it to responsible business. And they've said that there's no more ESG investment funds, which makes absolutely no sense to me. What is it being replaced with? So when you saw this, what were kind of your top level thoughts about why are we even putting any energy into a word?
well, I mean, I
Or an
think there's some
acronym?
history. I think there's some history, Sarah, that business in general does this periodically. So,
Yeah.
a word or an acronym or a process has a specific connotation. Maybe we don't like that connotation, or that acronym has gotten kind of a bad name, and so we decide to change it. And the one that sticks out to me is when we were like, nope, we're not going to do sales and operations planning. Now we're going to do integrated business planning, right?
Right.
And when you kind of peeled back the covers, you're like, what the heck's the difference? And quite frankly, the consultants couldn't tell you what the difference was really either, right? So for me, this is kind of the same thing. I think people that we've taught the public what ESG is, and now we don't like the definition of what we've taught them and what they're
Yeah.
trying to hold us accountable to. So now if maybe we shift that definition and we call it something else, we'll be held accountable to something else as well. And so
Yeah.
reminds me of that cup game, like where's the P, right? Like,
Well, and we have to be careful what we call it, because in Canada, there are some climate people suing the top 5 banks because they use the word sustainable finance. And I'll
well,
tell you, I'll tell you
it
something really
sustainability has so many different words like connotations. Like it doesn't have to mean the environment, right? Like
right.
it could just be self-sustaining. Like, yeah.
Right. Well, and in the EU, there's a sustainability disclosure law, and they still have to report ESG, and they're still using it as ESG. So I just don't know why we have to confuse the market. And I'll tell you, we're coming out with a post because I found a quiz that you can actually take to find out how you can help with climate change and things like that. And one of the suggestions that came back to me was that I change my bank. And I go with a bank that's more sustainable. And that was like an easy thing that I could do. I mean, it's easier if I was American because all of the banks listed, I believe, are in the US. So I don't know how, and I have to do some research on it. But there's easy ways that we can make sort of changes. And it was interesting to me that banking was one of them. And that hadn't even crossed my radar. And then now we're talking about how they're suing over words. And I just feel like if we make it too complicated, people are going to retreat and not do anything, which is not what we need right now.
But isn't that what some people want? I
Maybe,
mean, yeah,
maybe.
and I also think there's probably some generational dynamics there. I mean,
Mm,
I have two Gen Zers. I'll tell you, like they are pretty savvy. You can't get them to take the trash out for crap, but man, they understand where to spend their money, where to
mhm.
make, where what banks to use. Like they're doing research for all of that, but don't ask them to do the laundry, right? I mean,
Or put their dishes
um,
in the
put
dishwasher.
the dishes in the dishwasher. No, that's too complicated. But so, I mean, I think, I think part of it is, if it's not clearly defined, we can't be held accountable to it. And I
Yeah,
hate that. I hate that because I think at the end of the day, whether you believe in climate change or you don't, at the end of the day, you can't argue that we're poisoning ourselves and we're poisoning our planet. And that's
right.
really what it comes down to, right?
Yeah,
And so it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
come on, how do we make a difference?
Yeah, and, like, one shift, like changing your bank and things like that. So anyways, we're gonna come up with that post so that you can take the quiz yourself and, you can start making incremental changes like we talked about with our New Year's resolutions. Pick something and do something towards, sustainability every day. All right, let's talk about our next. This isn't really an article. This is an ebook, that you've come out with at Nulogy that, we're gonna be putting into the comments so everybody can go and get it. Now, what can we expect from this ebook? I love the me to we, everyone winning. I mean, collaboration is the future of business. It's kind of my thing. So, what can people expect? Who is this for?
Honestly, I would say it's for anybody that is either a customer buying, things for their supply chain or a supplier that is supplying things to those customers. And, we tend to concentrate primarily in what I would call process industries, but the ebook is really valid to supply chains more holistically. So, kind of gives you a little bit of background of what we're talking about and why we think synchronization of supply chain is so critical and what the data says, where are the gaps, where is it causing us problems, because we have kind of all these little businesses that are acting autonomously, and then it really gets into prescriptively what are the steps to evaluating your digital maturity. So everybody's journey is going to be different. It is 100% a journey. It is not a destination, and it's okay if you're not in the realm of orchestrated ecosystems. I think critically I would tell you no one is, regardless of what they want to believe. So I think it's like a couple of things that I always tell people, like, because they get overwhelmed, right? Like, oh my god, I don't even know how to start. And I'm like, well, you can eat an entire elephant one bite at a time. So let's just figure out the first step. What is the most critical thing to your business right now? Maybe it's getting visibility into what your supply base is doing. Like what are the POs that are
Yeah.
running in their plant right now that are for you? That is a great place to start. And then from there, we can start to talk about, sharing forecasts and sharing capacity and sharing raw materials and joint, decision making and joint dashboards, so everybody's measuring the same thing the same way.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have to be on the path.
Yeah. Well, and I love that everybody is winning. Now, you talk about a collaborative and synchronized ecosystem. What exactly do you mean by that?
So I will tell you, there's a lot of people in the market, a lot of software vendors and consultants that are like, oh, no, no, I'm going to help you collaborate. Absolutely, we support collaboration and it's more analog collaboration. It's, oh, I can help you download a spreadsheet. You can email it to your vendors. Your vendors can fill it out and email it back. And we would tell you that maybe that's a great first step, but it's not scalable. It's not sustainable. It takes a lot of manpower. And by the way, it's latent. It's probably full of errors. It's just not very robust. And so, what we're really advocating is this in platform. collaboration and synchronization. So very, very much like high fidelity data, data that's moving at the speed of business. So real time, near real time. That way you can make decisions not based on what happened at your vendor yesterday, the day before, 2 weeks ago, but based on what's happening today, right
Right.
now. And for me, this right here is the reason that I left, you know, a long history as a practitioner and moved into technology, because this multi-enterprise collaboration and synchronization, it made so much sense to me. I was really frustrated. I was putting in, advanced planning systems and doing global transformation of supply chain. And within the four walls, we could kind of manage things, right? But so much of what we did was really impacted by our supply base. Can they get us the materials that we need? Or can they produce the product? We had a lot of contract manufacturers. Can they produce this product and get it on shelf? Because it impacts my brand, right? And there was no visibility. It was phone calls and emails and spreadsheets. And, the multi-enterprise collaboration really strives to solve that. And, and my perspective would be, the companies that are doing this are the companies that are going to win. The big manufacturers, the brands, and their supply base, that is able to collaborate in a system. I call it virtual vertical integration. They're going to be successful. Because they're not going to make as many mistakes. They're not going to have as much waste. It doesn't take as many people to manage their transactions. It's just a win-win-win.
Awesome. Well, go and get that ebook. The link is in the comments. If you're over on my personal LinkedIn, I will go and put it into the comments right after we're done. So stay tuned. Now, we've only got a couple of minutes, but I do want to spend a little bit of time on this article by Forbes. So people make the supply chain go round. Well, what they're talking about in this particular article are labor shortages. So we have a lot of labor shortages in the supply chain. They're talking about how there's millions of unfulfilled job positions. And in manufacturing alone, 45%. So can technology help, or is it support? And is AI the answer? What did you think about this, Christine, when you saw that?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. I mean, we've been looking at research for several years, like, post COVID, that there's a huge, shortage of resources on the human side. And I do think AI can help. I don't think it's a panacea. I think that, you have to really understand the business problem that you're trying to solve and then apply it selectively.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the bigger problem is we have trained an entire generation that the only way they can be successful is through some type of an advanced education, a 4-year degree. And I think, what we're seeing is a lot of manufacturing jobs that maybe they take some technical acumen, but you don't have to be an engineer, right? And these Gen Zers and the millennials, they're digitally native. So I think we really have to rethink, how we're teaching our kids, what success looks like, and what a good job looks like, and that everybody doesn't have to go to a 4-year big university and have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
Yeah.
Because there are tools and processes within business that I just need you to be intelligent and focused and excited, and we can
Eager
teach
to
you.
learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Teachable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting, right? Because we are hearing all about these layoffs, but then we're also hearing that there's millions of unfulfilled job positions. And so, is it a reskilling, right? Are we looking for the jobs that we have done in the past? Or maybe can we look for something, maybe we can take some time to reskill? I mean, I don't know. But we're also, when I came out of high school, I didn't do college or university. I was receptionist for 4 years. I learned a ton about business, about the different departments, which department I wanted to work in, which I didn't. And I think some of these job positions can really be an opening to other things as well. And I think you're right, around mindset. Anyways, we've come to the end, and I really need to just let everybody know where we're going to be. So I talked about LogTech Live on Friday, March 21st. I have a webinar with Supply Chain Brain and Reveal about parcel shipping. I'm going to be at Manifest next week, so come and say hi. And then I'm going to be at TPM March 3rd through 6th, and I'm going to be on stage for a fireside chat with $1 Million Baby. $1 Million Baby? I think so. Anyways, Christine, I want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I cannot wait for your new show. Thanks to everybody in the audience for joining us. And I will see you next Tuesday live from Vegas. All right. Have a great week, everyone.